Hi, we are Doug's class for Software Engineering 4730, and this semester we worked on the Requirements Management tool for Avista. The purpose of this tool is to create, organize, and store documentation and system requirements for a project.
Oh, starting things off, we use Docker in order to run our CI/CD pipeline. It helped finish the testing server and run the API itself. We used it to simplify things as much as possible and create different containers of different areas of the project, creating a test server much easier. We use Swagger for the actual RESTful API language. It's expressed in JSON, and we are using it to auto-generate a lot of the documentation. It removed a lot of headaches on our end. AutoMapper is a simple object-to-object mapper that can allow us to make our response objects secure and efficient. You can see at the bottom there, which we'll get to what the change that AutoMapper made. And finally, we use CSV Helper as a tool to read and write from a CSV file. We used it to smooth out the process of importing projects from other programs. The last picture on the left here is the change made by AutoMapper. You can see on the left, that's the documentation for a specific call that our API was making. The one on the left is the old one, and it's big and chunky and nested and disgusting. And the one on the right is nice and simple and clean.
And for the UI UX team, we used React along with Ant Design to create it. React is a reactive framework or for JavaScript, and Ant Design provides pre-made UI components that we can then edit to suit the purposes we needed for the project. And some examples of UI screens, we have the item type builder, which is a form that you can add multiple input types to for the type or input types for the item that you want to build. The add item form, which allows you to add the item you just created to the project. And then the project screen, which allows you to view information about the project and each of the items that were added to the project by clicking on them in the tree.
So next we have the state management team. And so this team used Redux, which manages the state of the entire requirements tool. Um, and then we also use Axios, which is a library we use to make the HTTP requests to call the APIs. And so then we have a couple of code snippets here. And so there are three components to using Redux, and those are the actions, the component itself that calls the action, and then the reducer. And specifically, these code snippets look at deleting a user. So if there was a button, which would be the component, once someone wants to delete a user, they press the button, which then calls the action, and then that sends a call to the reducer, which finalizes deleting the user on the UI and sends the API call to delete those users from the database. So next we have, for this project, we use the Scrum process. And so what we did was a 2-week sprint, and then that would involve user story creation, sprint planning, and retrospectives.
So next we'll talk about the database team. So as the database team, we progressed this project in multiple different ways. First of all, we pursued some reactive bug testing as some different teams created more code. We had to modify ours to meet their new requirements. As we developed this new code, we also continued to proactively maintain and develop the system more. We modified the construction of our tables. They were previously being created dynamically, but we made that so that the tables are now no longer being created dynamically. We then transitioned a lot of our code that had a no framework into using entity framework. This took up a large portion of our time, as well as documentation that there was none of previously. So we documented our tables and the fields and what they do and gave them some good test data. This is an example of our ER diagram. You can just sort of see a few of the connections here, how our tables kind of react and connect with each other. Then if I zoom out some more here on the bottom, you can see the architecture and how the different teams sort of react and work with each other. So you see the UI and UX team kind of work hand in hand with the state management, as well with the API and the database team. And then the state management and API sort of connected within themselves to handle data back and forth that way. So with that said, that is our poster, and that was our requirements management tool, our project that we worked on. Thank you.